Hi, hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Today let's discuss about the writer Sir Thomas More. Sir Thomas More, 1478-1535. Sir Thomas More is an English writer born in London in 1478. His father was Sir John More, who was a successful lawyer and later a judge in the King's Bench. Thomas More attended St. Anthony's School in London, a prominent grammar school of the time. Thomas More became a page in the household of John Morton, Archbishop of Canterbury and a Lord Chancellor, who recognized his intelligence and helped further his education. Thomas More studied at Oxford University circa 1492, where he learned Latin, Greek, and the classics. He returned to London to study law at Lincoln's Inn in 1496, qualifying as a barrister. Deeply influenced by the Christian humanist movement, especially by Desiderius Erasmus, with whom he maintained a lifelong friendship and a correspondence. Thomas More is considered becoming a monk and lived in a Carthusian monastery for a time, practicing asceticism and a spiritual discipline. Thomas More chose instead to live a devout lay Christian life, balancing public duties with the private devotion. Thomas More translated Latin works, wrote poetry, and developed interests in theology, philosophy, and politics. He married Jane Colt in 1505, and they had 4 children. After Jane Colt's death in 1511, Thomas More married Alice Middleton, a wealthy widow. Thomas More educated his daughters as rigorously as his sons, especially remarkable in a time when female education was rare. His daughter, Margaret Roper, was particularly distinguished for her intellect and piety, and she remained close to Thomas More until his death. Thomas More's most famous work, Utopia. (1516). Written in Latin during a diplomatic mission in Flanders. The work describes an idealized fictional island society named Utopia, characterized by communal property, no private ownership, religious tolerance, free education, and a social equality. Thomas More criticizes the social, political, and economic injustices of the 16th century Europe, especially greed, poverty, and corruption. He pioneered a new genre in Western literature that is called utopian fiction. The name Utopia derives from Greek roots meaning both no place, that is topos, and also good place, that means topos, indicating a tension between idealism and realism. The next work is History of King Richard III, written in English and Latin. It is an unfinished historical account, influenced by Shakespeare's later portrayal of Richard III. The next work is Dialogue Concerning Heresies, published in 1529. It defended the Catholic Church against Martin Luther and Protestant reformers. The next work, that is Dialogue of Comfort Against the Tribulations, published in 1534, a spiritual treatise written during his imprisonment, offering comfort in times of suffering. Then he has also written numerous epigrams and devotional works that reflect his wit and piety. Thomas More entered a parliament in 1504. Thomas More rose through various governmental and legal offices. He was appointed under sheriff in London, 1510, a position of considerable legal responsibility and public trust. He served as master of requests, member of Privy Council, and a speaker of the House of Commons. He was knighted in 1521 and later appointed Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster. Thomas More became Lord Chancellor of England in 1529, succeeding Cardinal Wolsey, the highest judicial and political office under the king. Initially a trusted friend and a counselor to King Henry VIII, he was a devout Catholic, and Thomas More opposed the king's divorce from Catherine of Aragon and refused to endorse the English Reformation. Thomas More rejected the Act of Supremacy 1534, which declared Henry the supreme head of the Church of England, thereby breaking from the authority of the Pope. He resigned as Lord Chancellor in 1532 due to growing tensions and a conflict with the king's policies. Thomas More maintained silence on the king's marriage to Anne Boleyn, hoping to avoid a direct confrontation or legal accusation. He was arrested in April 1534 and imprisoned in the Tower of London for refusing to take the oath of supremacy. While in prison, Thomas More continued writing, especially the work Dialogue of Comfort Against the Tribulation, reflecting profound spiritual strength. Thomas More was tried for treason on July 1st, 1535. He was found guilty based on the testimony of Richard Rich, a court official who likely committed perjury. Thomas More was executed by beheading on July 6, 1535 at a Tower Hill. Thomas More's famous last words, "I die the king's good servant, but God's first." He was buried in the Tower of London, though the exact location remains uncertain. Thomas More is remembered as a martyr of conscience, symbolizing integrity and resistance to tyranny. Thomas More was canonized as a saint by the Catholic Church in 1935 by Pope Pius XI, alongside John Fisher, Bishop of Rochester, who was also executed for resisting Henry VIII's reforms. Thomas More was declared the patron saint of politicians and lawyers. He is revered by both Catholics and humanists for his virtue, intellect, and courage. Thomas More is the subject of the play and the film titled A Man for All Seasons by Robert Bolt that came out during the 1960s. The play portrays Thomas More as a principled and heroic figure standing against political pressure. The film adaptation won the Academy Award for the Best Picture in 1966. Thomas More is frequently studied in literature, philosophy, law, and ethics courses. Thomas More advocated human dignity, moral integrity, and a spiritual conviction. He believed in reform within the Catholic Church rather than breaking from it. He opposed the capital punishment for heresy despite his own harsh treatment of Protestants while in office. He emphasized the conscience as a moral compass, even above royal authority. Thomas More's iconic portrait was painted by the painter Hans Holbein, the great Renaissance artist. Thomas More and Niccolo Machiavelli were contemporaries. Another ideas clashed. While Machiavelli's work, The Prince, promotes real politics and ruthless pragmatism, Thomas More's Utopia imagines a society based on moral and communal values. Many scholars read Utopia as a moral response to Machiavellian cynicism. Overall, Thomas More is a complex figure, admired for his virtue, but also critiqued for his role in persecuting reformers during his tenure as Lord Chancellor.